This is my evaluation question 2 for my 3 products of my horror trailer, my poster and my magazine cover. The question is, how effective is the combination of your main product and ancillary tasks? And these are my 3, my product and my 2 ancillaries. When comparing to real media texts, it's important to use them when making yours in order to sort of fit with the conventions of your genre. So here on the left I've got the poster from Stephen King's It, which was a direct influence on my work, being a clown horror. And on the right you've got a magazine cover from the magazine Mad Movies, which shows, you know, a article on, or a double page spread inside of the movie It, and on the front you can obviously see Pennywise, who is the main character in it. If we go down to my magazine cover, I wanted on the front to be the actor who was playing in it. I didn't go with the sort of stereotype of using the horror character, because I wanted it to sort of resemble maybe an interview inside or something like that of a new actor, a new emerging actor. That would be easy to play with. So on the front I have Dominic Egan, who is my main character in my film, and he's supposed to be, you know, looking a bit scared or startled, as he would in the film maybe. And then around it you've obviously got Projector, which is the name of my magazine, and Your Turn, which is the name of the actual film at the bottom. It's then got some quotes, and it's got a few constructs on the front, some visuals that you can see. Firstly, talking about title. So here you have Projector, and then I'll go on to talk about the rest of the titles throughout. So Projector, after doing some research in my class, I found out that, you know, people would want to see, they wouldn't just want to see a bog standard font on the front, they want to see something quite bold that sort of meets your eyes but also fits in with the colour scheme. And with mine, the colour scheme, I was advised to pick 3 colours, and those colours were, as you can see, red and a sort of gold sandy yellow in the background, and sort of a greyish white as well, which sort of keeps, it means there's not too much going on, however that it still looks interesting, it sort of catches your eye. So Projector, I also added in the visuals on the 2 O's of the projector sort of lenses, which gave good visuals and sort of was to help show my Photoshop skills. You've then got sort of things at the top like now trending, obsessed turnaround freak show, which is like a common convention with a lot of magazine covers. However, I wish that I had changed the font for this, because I think it's a bit too similar to the title. Then for the real film fan is sort of like a slogan for the magazine. Again, I wish I'd made it a bit bigger and probably a bit more of a bold colour like black on the sandy background, because seeing the 4 and the there are quite hard to see. Moving on to what I think is the weakest part of the poster is the black box on the bottom left, just here, that says, "This is going to be the first of many in my career." This is supposed to be a quote from the actor that is sort of picked out from the interview that makes you sort of go, oh, okay, I'd like to read about this. However, I didn't put enough effort or time into that box, as I think I should have cut it around the words rather than just having a box there. It does cut off a bit of the actor, and in general it just looks a bit sort of amateur and doesn't really fit in with the scheme of the poster. Font effects, as I said, you know, you've got the 2 O's that are the projector lenses, which I think was a really good way of showing my Photoshop skills, as I said before. Then you've got the fonts throughout. They change, but you know, they're all the same here and here. However, when going on to the name of my film, I wanted it to be the same as the one on my poster, therefore I used the same font and took the picture and put it in there. Big enough for you to see it, not big enough to stop you looking at Projector, which is obviously the name of the magazine cover, which is what they want you to look at. So all in all, I think the poster's good. However, I wish I'd spent more time on some aspects of it. The photo, I think, is good enough, and I think the blending, he doesn't stick out too much after I blended the edges of him and his hoodie. However, I wish I had spent more time on the bottom of him, as I haven't blended him properly. I wish I'd probably had him coming out, or at least a title at the bottom, something, but that's my analysis on that. Moving on to my poster. Now, again, going back to the It poster, what I want to do is sort of use a sense of that in, you don't want them to see too much of your clown, however, you do need to deliver a sense of fear in that. So, in mine, you can't see his face at all, however, you can see his hands, sort of suggests a little more getting to know him. And it's quite a scary image, which is blended well into the background. You know, it's not just a black background, it's got some white in there. Then talking about fonts, I think that the top font is fantastic with the genre. It fits in with this one and this one. The titles at the bottom are actually cut off here, which I will go on to afterwards. But font, yeah, the colours fit in very well. I used a matching tool to match the colour of his sort of buttons on the costume to the colour, and then I brightened it a small bit and blended in the middle so that it wouldn't be as standing out. The picture, as I said before, is blended perfectly into the background. Effects, I wish I'd used maybe a few more effects, you know, maybe another visual on the sides or something like that, maybe his arms looking a different way. Exposition, as I said before, not giving away too much about the clown, however, you know, making sure that he stands out. You see only him and there isn't too much else. Maybe I could have put a picture of the two boys in the film on the sides looking scared, possibly, if I'd looked at more of the conventions of real media texts. However, I feel that, you know, most of it is good enough. And the slogan, we went with "What's in the box." After doing my research on the peers in my group, I found that they found that "What's in the box" was better than some of the other slogans, such as "It's your turn," or which was discussed that it was too similar to the title. Moving on to the bottom half of it, it fits in perfectly with the conventions of normal. The blurb is well set out, not too big, not too small, doesn't take up too much of the space or your attention away. And then you've got these 5 titles down here. You've got the copyright, you've got my ident, coming soon with a website name for the movie, Universal Pictures, and the 18 sign, all of which appear on all posters, horror or not, and fits in perfectly with that. Fonts, again, we talked about the Your Turn. It's very good. It's sort of scary with a sense of excitement. It doesn't take too much attention off the character, however, it is still good. It fits in with the colour scheme, and that's why the 18 sign is quite good in that as well. It doesn't, even though you're not allowed to change the colour of that, the fact that it's red sort of complements it quite well. Moving on to the trailer comparisons. I identified my strengths and weaknesses in the horror trailer. For example, strengths: follows the correct narrative. After looking at the It trailer, I identified the exact timings of what scenes ended where and how long the montage scene and the end scene was, and I followed that narrative pretty much down to a T. Even timings, I kept it at 2 minutes 29 when usually it's, you know, around 2 minutes 30. False jump scares, effectively, when Sebastian Egan, who plays the younger boy, is doing the Jack in the Box. It's a false jump scare, you know, nothing actually happens, and that works. Real jump scares as well at the end, when it's the clown jumping at the camera. Again, it just sort of, it fits in with conventions of a lot of these horror films, which use both as effectively in their trailers, and nearly everyone has both. You then have, as I said before, timed correctly, kept it to 2 minutes 29. It couldn't go over 2 minutes 30, otherwise I felt that it'd be too long. And timings with the actual scenes themselves. The end scene, for example, is usually about 15 seconds, as mine is, and it just keeps the professional look of it. And age of actors chosen well. This one I felt I did very well on. Dominic Egan, who plays the older boy, is actually obviously related to Sebastian Egan, who plays the younger boy, so there's no sort of worry there with if they look similar. And the ages are perfect because I think Sebastian, the younger one, is just young enough to be innocent and sort of naive in the way he goes around around the house, and getting caught as well. In the montage scene, you see him get caught and spinning on the chair. And Dom is just old enough to be protective, yet not too old to show the normal teenage conventions we see in a lot of horror films, which is, laziness, or, he's not as happy to be there as Sebastian. In terms of weaknesses, I think the acting and the script that I had written was pretty unprofessional. I don't think that when I casted it, I didn't think that I wrote the script well enough to allow the actors to act well. I think it was very basic. Even though it fit in with conventions, it wasn't too good. Even though there's not too much dialogue in there, I think that I could have had a few more shots or a few more takes just to try and get a better shot, or better acting. But music and montage, I've been told half and half. It's too intense, it's not intense. It is very intense, perhaps too intense. Maybe the scenes in that montage scene don't warrant a quick and harsh sounding song in that part, but I went through with it anyway after getting positive remarks from that as well. Not enough of the clown shown. I don't feel that there was too much. That obviously I didn't want too much exposition on him. However, I maybe could have shown a bit more. Easily could have shown a bit more that I had shot, but again, more exposition needed. This is basically about the fact that you need the audience to know exactly what's going on in a horror, because there's a lot of random stuff going on that makes sense in the movie, but in the trailer it's put in just to scare you. So maybe I could have had a bit more exposition in there. No adult actors were used, and I think it gives it a professional look if you do have them. Therefore, using them would have been a good idea. And diversity of actors, I had no female, which was sort of a choice of mine in terms of I didn't want any female representation. However, I could have used a bit more diversity, adults, females, etc. Moving on to media institutions that I would feel would distribute my product. I picked out Universal as the main one of the big six, because I think their just overall experience in the field of horror is just much better than a lot of people's, and they seem to do it very well. So here I've written, in my opinion, the most likely institution to distribute this product would be Universal. The main reason being that they have a long and varied list of horror distribution in their past. For example, Insidious came out this year, the third one, Happy Death Day last year, Get Out last year, Ouija the year before, and then going even further back to 1981 when they brought out The Funhouse, and Cape Fear, the original, in 1962. So they've gone very far back in terms of their experience and how they do stuff like that, and I think they would just really bring out. So here I said, the range of horror movies dating back nearly 60 years shows how experienced they are in this field and how they understand how to release these movies. The effectiveness of their techniques are shown through the money they make off the low-budget horror films. For example, Insidious: The Last Key this year had a budget of 10 million and it's already made 165 million in box office. However, this may be due to the fact that they had a success in the first two. Get Out was one that was even less expecting to make money, 4.5 million budget, 255 million box office, nominated for some Oscars, and Jordan Peele, the director, nominated for Best New Director, and so that's a massive success. And Happy Death Day, even a movie that didn't do amazingly, still had a budget of just under 5 million and came out with 122 million at box office. So in my opinion, two of those movies aren't amazing. Get Out for me was fantastic, but Happy Death Day and Insidious weren't amazing horror films, yet they made a lot of money. And so Universal, I think, deserves the credit for that, because I think their marketing and distribution would have been completely on point with that. I wrote here, this proves how they know how to release and distribute the product, where to distribute it, and when to do it. Having a powerhouse of a global institution like this behind the movie can prove successful. As I said before, just them having the right contacts, them knowing exactly where to put it, when to put it out, who to give it to. I think they would just give me the overall best chance of doing well. Other institutions considered, I also considered 20th Century Fox. However, looking at its present and past releases, it's clear to see that they're not as experienced or interested as others are in the genre of horror. As the genre that works on a low budget, it's vital that distribution is done properly and that is released in this that can make money. Although 20th Century Fox have experience in this, I feel that Universal would have more. So, looking into another sort of conglomerate of filmmaking, yes, they do have experience. However, I would say Universal bring out 3 or 4 horror movies a year and have since the 60s, and 20th Century Fox don't tend to bring out horror movies, although they have. It's not one of their strengths like it is with Universal. Thank you.